Desperate Australians are relying on credit cards. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. I hope you've all had a great Christmas holiday, a fantastic Boxing Day, and you're recovering from everything. Now, I thought we'd have a look at this release from AMP, which is a few days old, but it ties into some other information that's just come out. So those impacted by COVID-19 are relying more on credit cards and loans. So those who are, well, in the worst position, those who are perhaps the most desperate, are relying on credit cards and other loans, which isn't really a good sign. Now, we spoke before about the increase in retail spending and the hopes that this would be enough for some retailers to get through the Christmas period. There's also discussions of, well, a lot of additional retail and economic activity over the Christmas period. Did you go out on Boxing Day, everyone? I'll be brutally honest, I couldn't be bothered. I had a nice nap and I relaxed, so I managed to avoid it. And I think Rachel and Emily, they did all their Christmas. Well, actually, no, they were buying their mother's present. They found a good bargain online and they just click and collect. So they managed to avoid the Boxing Day shopping, which means I didn't have to drop them off and pick them up, which I'm really happy with. So let's have a look at this. AMP's financial wellness research shows more Australian workers are relying on personal credit to cover expenses as a result of COVID-19. And how many of those are going to wind up in financial trouble next year? Remember, there's only 4 days until, well, businesses are no longer going to be able to trade while insolvent, where all the time extensions and changing of the rules is disappearing. We're already running at about 50% the level of insolvencies that we should have. What's going to happen this first quarter next year? That's what we need to keep our eyes on. And this is not a good sign. If people are having to depend on credit, you're just as bad as our state governments that are paying operating costs with loans. 11% of Australian workers whose working hours have been impacted by the pandemic report an increased reliance on credit cards to pay expenses, while 7% have taken out a personal loan. Now, this is a sign of, well, you don't have having no emergency fund, and this is what an emergency fund is. But considering the amount of articles and news that we've looked at and just the lack of any discussion of having an emergency fund or personal responsibility for one's finances, it's not surprising anymore. It just needs to be accepted that our education system is so bad here in Australia, people just aren't prepared. So they fall back on the credit cards and those type of things. And it's really, they should be adjusting their expenses down, cutting costs, cutting perks. This when you get into a mess like this is when you really realize what's a necessity and what isn't, and you'd be shocked at what you can cut if you need to. The figures reflect increasing levels of financial stress caused by the pandemic, with those Australians who perceive the pandemic to have had a negative impact on their finances almost 3 times more likely to feel anxious about their finances. In addition, 2 in 5 Australian workers who access their super as part of the early access scheme have used the funds to pay off debt. This coincides with almost a quarter, 22% of workers abandoning their pre-COVID goals to pay off personal loans and credit cards. Does that mean they've actually used that super to pay off those personal loans and credit cards? If you pay off the credit card and then destroy it, that's a good thing. That's great. And if you say never again, because think about it, you're paying, 19% interest in some regards. Sure, there's a compounding effect there on your super if you're taking that money out, but there's also a potential compounding effect there on that credit. What are you comparing it to? 20% return on that credit card to 5%, maybe 10% if you're lucky on your super at the moment. So, AMP financial advisor Andrew Haven said, "It's clear from the research that those whose working arrangements have been directly impacted by COVID are relying more on credit cards and personal loans to meet day-to-day needs. Oh, this is day-to-day needs. This means that they're not even budgeting. As we enter the Christmas period, a time when we typically spend more, there's added risk. Already financially stressed Aussies will face mounting credit card bills in January. That's when we're going to see it. And I'll do another video where we're looking at this was articles from just before Christmas, looking at some of the spending that's occurred at Christmas and how much really rubbish people have bought. How did you go with the presents? I thought I was encouraging my mother to get into, buying some silver coins because I sold her some. And they came back to me at Christmas. So that's how it's going to work, I guess. I thought, oh, fantastic, she's showing a sign of interest. Get a bit of precious metals just in case. It's important they think carefully about their spending and use of credit over the Christmas break to avoid amplifying anxiety in the new year. This is the thing. People, you don't want to be in the new year with a credit card, guys. Even if you've gone a bit stupid already at Christmas, just calm down for New Year's. You don't need to go crazy then. Sticking to a Christmas budget, avoiding spur-of-the-moment purchases, and being aware of the type of credit used can add up to a big savings and significantly reduced interest payments down the track. Well, we're going to have to see how these afterpay, because I guarantee a lot of people have jumped on that bandwagon for Christmas as well. So here's 4 tips for managing Christmas spending. Look at smarter gift giving. Find ways to keep a lid on spending while still enjoying gift giving that's kinder to your hip pocket, such as avoiding spur-of-the-moment spending, chipping into group presents, and buying gifts in bulk. Plan ahead where possible. A good way to save money over Christmas is to plan your Christmas budget in advance. For example, keeping an eye out for annual sales and looking to Boxing Day sales for the following year's presents. Thinking debit rather than credit if you can. Consider using a debit account with a competitive interest rate. If you can't avoid credit, try to limit the damage. Think carefully about the type of credit you choose to use and check the important conditions like interest-free periods and what you'll be charged if you can't pay on time. And consolidate your debts. Small debts may not seem significant, but having multiple smaller debts could mean you're paying higher interest rates and multiple sets of fees, all of which can hit your wallet. Consolidate your debts into one loan can give you a clearer picture of what you owe and hopefully save your money on interest too. Now, I know Dave Ramsey, he hates the idea of people consolidating their debt, and he advocates for the snowball technique where you just attack the smallest debt, pay that off early, boom, then get the next one, and the next one till you just keep going. Because in the States, you've got some of these companies that will come in. This sounds quite odd to me. That will come in and consolidate your debt for you. They'll manage all the payments and negotiate on your behalf with these other parties, which seems odd. Whereas, or you could just say, okay, I've got all this equity in my house, consolidate all the debt, pay everything off, and then just boom, hit the mortgage and annihilate them. That's what I would have thought. That was my thinking when I hear consolidating your debts. But then even if you get into a personal loan, you've got to hit it. You've got to realize, how long you'll be paying off the debts for crap you're buying. We really literally came home from the Gold Coast. We spent time with family and we just cleared out a whole lot of rubbish, just stuff we'd had lying around, just clutter. Because we've got all the new stuff in from the kids. They got so much Lego. So here's the research. AMP's financial wellness research is conducted by the Behavioral Architects. Are they real architects? A global insight research and strategy consultancy specializing in the application of behavioral science. Insights were collected from more than 2,100 Australian employees and weighted to reflect Australia's broader workforce based on data from the ABS. So there's the sample size. So there we have it, everyone. The worrying concern is that more and more people are leaning on credit cards and personal loans to pay expenses coming out of this economic hit. And this is still when we have the job seeker bonus, which is going to disappear, when we have JobKeeper propping up businesses. What's going to happen next year when all of these things are removed? We haven't seen the impact of this recession yet, everyone. We've felt it. The recession started, but we haven't seen the impact of it. We'll have to see. Anyway, let us know in the comments how you went for Christmas. How did you go with your Christmas spending? We probably splurged a little bit more than we would in the past because, well, what Rachel did is she'd bought this educational kit, like a big marble run for all the kids. And I'm going, we can't buy this for all of them. Then they've started to cotton on. They're asking for things. We need to get a little Lego kit for Freddie and then for Mina, and just snowballed from there. But we paid for it with it all using the normal savings account. No credit. There you go. Anyway, guys, let me know how your Christmas went and how your spending was. Did you keep to your budget, or did you splurge a little? Or are you worried about credit? What's your plan to deal with it? As always, guys, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy a merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.